Oh my goodness. Oh my gracious. Oh my godness. VOD viewers. Ellen Horai. Amy Worrell. Sarah Louise. VOD viewers. Hello. We're back. I'm making sure everything's working before I truly launch in. Can you hear me and the music too? How is the balance of elements? Do I sound like I am in tune with the sound of the music that you hear here? Is it all balanced right? Does it sound kind of loud? Or is it not too loud? Everybody is saying that it's all good. I am seeing a lot of approval, and I think this maybe is ready to go. Oh, I fucked up the melody. I do not remember where we are in the narrative, really. I know, like, demons started getting summoned and shit. It had just gotten really weird. Like, almost incomprehensibly weird. Where we left off. I think it was a little too much for me to process at the time. All right. Welcome back, everybody, to Umineko no Naku Koro ni. It's been a while. I think it's been, like, probably 3 or 4 months, like a season, something like that. A whole season. And, there's a few reasons that There's a few reasons I stopped. Wait, it should just be chapter 1 on characters, right? Like, you don't unlock chapter 2 of characters until after chapter 2, I assume. Yeah, I mean, all the information looks correct. I shouldn't have all, unless I'm on chapter 2, I shouldn't have all of this, right? Yeah. We want to load back in right where we were. Turn of the Golden Witch, that's the one. Last time we got to the chapel murders, Battler and Beatrice had some back and forth. Meanwhile, Jessica and Kanon had a run-in with some demons, says Ellen. All right. Hell yeah. Good to be back, says P. First time seeing this at all, says Toopy Doopy. Well, it's a ride. It's a real ride. While I would encourage you to go back and watch it from the start if you have time, chapter 1 was like 20 hours or something like that. The compiled video is up on the channel. I don't know if I don't think where I'm at right now in the story will make more sense if you've read chapter 1. Like, you'd be able to understand, like, what's happening in the sense of you know who the characters are and how they're related to one another. But in terms of what's happening in the story right now, it is deliberately very confounding. It is like almost making fun of you with how much it doesn't make sense so that it will make sense at some point later. It's really like a test of faith, this chapter. It feels like it is a test of your faith in Umineko. And likewise, there was a test of your faith of whether I would get back to playing Umineko. Looks like I have short hair because of this lighting. It's very strange. I'm just going to throw it over my shoulder. The reasons that I had to stop is I was doing a lot of live streaming, and I didn't really have time to do other things other than live streaming because I had very limited access to the office in my house. And this game also, it's pretty intense. Like, psychologically, it worms its way into my consciousness, and in particular because this game has such a unique approach to storytelling. And, like, there's a degree to which I understood that fact because I have seen the anime and I've seen the Higurashi anime and I've played a little bit of the Higurashi visual novel, but actually reading this story, like, changes the way you look at how stories can be done, or like what is valuable in a story. Like there's stuff about it that's obnoxious, but it's not like it's not unnecessary, or it's hard to convince yourself that it's unnecessary. Like as you're reading it, you're thinking, okay, like all of everything it's doing is just so interesting. It's hard to ever be upset about anything. Like it's too unique, it's too singular, for me to be like, oh, I'm upset that it's like so long or whatever. It's like, I don't know, I kind of want it to go on forever because it's great, and obviously you want Ryukishi to keep making more stories so that you can live even longer in the universes he creates. But this one is already not only so long, but so dense that there's no way you could just understand it completely in one playthrough anyways, probably not even in 2 playthroughs. So how did I miss you've been reading Umineko on streams lately? Because I haven't been doing it for about like 3 months, 3 or 4 months. As I was saying, in my old place, I'm being called by Shade. Hold on. Hello? Are you at here? Okay. I forgot Shade was going to be over. Let me go let him in. Good thing I didn't start reading yet. Yeah. Alright, I'm gonna be streaming. Oh boy, I had like chain locked the front door and forgot that Shade was going to be over to bring more stuff into the house. Okay. Reading the chat real quick. Silent Hill. I don't know what y'all are even talking about with Silent Hill. Did Ryukishi is involved in a Silent Hill? Because that sounds fucking crazy if true. Big if gay, as they say. Okay. I think we can load this up. I think we can get started. I'm going to have to remember everybody's voices. Luckily, I guess I just hear their voices and base it on how they sound. It's not like I've been making up voices or anything. Ryukishi is writing a Silent Hill. That sounds... I mean, that's the best news Silent Hill fans could get since Silent Hills. Unfortunately, I won't believe it's going to ever see completion until it does. Like, I would just... If Konami has anything to do with it, I wouldn't trust that it will ever see the light of day until it is literally out. There's no reason to get your hopes up for that whatsoever. You should assume that it won't come out until it's out. That's the only way I think this makes sense. Okay. All right, let's play Umineko. Let's get started. Rosa and the rest returned from the chapel to the parlor in the mansion. Such a horrific thing had happened so early in the morning. Of course, they were high-strung. Battler and George, who had cried, raged, and let their emotions explode after seeing their parents' tragic bodies, returned to the parlor, sat on the sofas, and let their minds go blank, as though everything up until then had been a lie. Only Maria was completely unchanged. I love her so much. It looks just like normal. Just seeing her, I got like giddy just because I was like, oh, Maria's here. She didn't say anything, though, so I was like, damn. When she wasn't being mischievous, she was basically a kid who played wordlessly by herself. I know something about that. That sounds like a pretty accurate description of my lifestyle, actually. So even if her mind was blank, she would probably look as she did. But as she turned on the TV and flipped through the channels, it looked as though nothing about her had changed from normal. Perhaps Rosa had some opinions about this attitude, which was clearly different from normal people. Clearly. She stared at Maria's back with a gaze that wasn't quite pleasant. This bitch can't even look at you pleasantly. Like, god damn, she is so mean. Eventually, Kumasawa came to say good morning. Her cheerful manner was clearly out of place, and she couldn't help but be bewildered at the strange atmosphere in the room. Then she heard the details from Goda and expressed her shock in a truly noisy manner. Oh! Of course you've contacted the police, right? What should we do at a time like this? Oh, what should we do? Please listen calmly. It seems that some kind of apparatus was done in by lightning last night. Because of that, we have become unable to use the telephones. Then, until the typhoon passes, we can't even contact the police. Maybe Kumasawa's exaggerated surprise was a little comical. Rosa giggled in spite of the situation. How's the mixing on my voice versus their voices, by the way? It's because I know some of them, they're like, I kind of had it too loud. Because of that, the fog of confusion that had covered her head cleared up a little. I've got to stay strong. It's not just Maria. I'm acting as a parent for George-kun and Battler-kun too now, so I have to stay strong. Oh, George and Battler, don't let her do that. We're fine. No parenting needed. We're adults. You can stick to badly parenting one child. Rosa has been the youngest sibling, with a large difference in age between her and the others, so she was always treated as a child. Every time she learned something new, it was something obvious to her brothers and sister, and she had grown a complex, thinking that she must be incompetent. So she had formed a passive attitude, asking her brothers and sister for advice every time something happened. But she no longer had any brothers or sisters. Now Rosa was the only one of the 4 Ushiromiya siblings left. Furthermore, if Kinzo continued to shut himself away, in this extraordinary situation, Rosa would have to surpass this crisis as the representative of the head. I got a head she can represent. I'm not a child anymore, not a child. Rosa slapped her knees lightly, and stood up. She must not wait for orders now. She had to start moving herself. She picked up the receiver to the extension phone on the side table. Then she immediately remembered that the telephones were out of order. Genji and Shannon, who she had sent to see Kinzo, hadn't returned yet. She had a general guess. He was probably yelling about something nonsensical again, and they were unable to calm him. His important chapel had been defiled with blood. That was easy to imagine. She had planned on using the extension phone to call the study, but with the telephone line dead, there was nothing else for it. That's an odd phrasing. Nothing else for it. Rosa decided to go to the study directly with her own 2 feet. Her old self would have... I was thinking like her old self, like not her old self, like her previous self. Her old self would have been so frightened that she wouldn't have been able to go see Kinzo. And in fact, if she did meet him, she would probably be blamed for something and abused. Good night, Gigadonk. Butt fart. But now wasn't the time to be frightened. As his true daughter, she had to make him aware of the current situation. Kumasawa-san, I'm going to see father. Take special care of George-kun and Battler-kun. I'm sure they are on edge right now. Yes. I am quite sure they must be. It is truly pitiable. I shall make them something warm to drink. Thank you. Rosa went out into the hallway and headed towards Kinzo's study. The atmosphere in this mansion, which she had spent her younger days in and should have been full of memories, seemed somehow different. And she began to climb the stairs in the entrance hall. Just then, in the gloom down the stairs behind Rosa, something glowed. Oh shit! It was a single fluttering gold butterfly. It fluttered around and sparkled. That was a cool animation. The butterfly quietly danced without a sound. Obviously. No one can hear the sound of a butterfly's wings beating. Idiot. And then it stopped on Rosa's back as she slowly climbed the stairs. Rosa didn't notice, and to an ignorant observer it would probably have looked just as though a single sheet of gold leaf in the shape of a butterfly had gotten stuck there. Without noticing, Rosa continued heading to Kinzo's study. It's like a literal bug. A bug that is a bug. Well then, in what way should I entertain myself next? There are still many, many pieces left. Hello, Lapusha. I'm sure a lot of people would like Kumasawa to take care of them. I don't know. I'm sure she's like good at her job, but she always seems to be like trying to find ways to be lazy about it too. You know, I don't think if you weren't paying her that she would be that great of a caretaker. In the parlor, which had returned to silence, the only sound was that of the TV, which Maria was watching alone. If there was anything audible other than that, it was the sound of the rain, which had continued on and on since last night. Every one of those people who had viewed that unearthly and horrible scene stayed silent, as though praying that the events of this morning were all a dream. Only Kumasawa hadn't seen it, and so acted slightly differently. She instead found this silence difficult to bear, and was fidgety with the desire to cheer everyone up. However, unable to say more than she should, it seemed that she was racking her brains as to how she could be of some use. Normally, it would be time for breakfast. However, maybe because something like that had happened, Goda seemed to have forgotten about preparing a meal. No, maybe everyone was so beaten up that they had forgotten their hunger. Kumasawa wanted to bring up the subject of what they would do for breakfast, but it didn't seem like the right atmosphere, so she really couldn't. But it was difficult being hungry. So, she casually made a proposal. I know this feeling. Landon with $5 says, if it wasn't for Trixie, I wouldn't be an anime critic. Thanks for being my friend, Trixie. Thank all of you. Thank you, Landon. Welcome back to the United States of America. I assume you've made it back home. Anyway. I imagine you all must be tired after all that has happened. In times like this, I think the best thing is to heat yourself with some warm black tea.
That is a good plan. Give me that tea, bitch. I'm thirsty. I agree as well.
Oh, how about some delicious black tea with biscuits and jam? Oh, yes. It seems that it's near Halloween. There were some delicious-looking pumpkin-shaped cookies on the shelf. Ooh, let me get in on that.
Kumasawa-san, those are the poison cookies we kill people with.
Of course, she had said the wrong thing, because she had reminded Battler and the rest about that horrible and tragic Halloween party in the chapel. I forgot that that's how everybody died, was literally by eating, like, fucked up Halloween candy. Gary Always with $5. How about some warm black D? What was that in response to? Wait. Get that big dick. Of course she had said the wrong thing because she... Oh, right, I read that. Nanjo hurriedly whispered into Kumasawa's ear. Oh, warm black tea, of course. That's how quickly I forget things I've just said. Like, for real, I run into this problem all the time where, like, Bird will make a joke about, like, a pun on something I just said, and I'm like, I don't get it. And he's like, because you just said that. And I'm like, oh, right. I did literally just say that, didn't I? Nanjo hurriedly whispered into Kumasawa's ear. Battler-san, I am truly sorry. I didn't mean anything bad. Gracious, no. No, don't worry about it. I'll definitely turn this boiling anger back on the culprit. I wonder if that culprit is still on the island. Probably. After all, there's not going to be a boat coming until the typhoon passes. Yes, my goodness. Because the boats don't come even if there is a little wind. They certainly wouldn't be able to ride one during a typhoon. Good gracious, no. It creeps me out. You think so too, Aniki? Me too. Regardless of whether the culprit was that mystery guest or not. That's right. We are naturally suspecting the mysterious guest who calls herself Beatrice, but we still cannot be sure that she is the culprit. There is still the possibility she's a victim whose corpse still hasn't been found. That seems like a pretty astute guess. When I think of it that way, there's something I just can't understand. What do you mean by that? It's simple. It's just like Kumasawa Bachan said a short while ago. Right now, this island is right in the midst of the typhoon, and escape is impossible. The same thing goes for the culprit. In that case, having the crime come to light should have been the thing that the culprit most wanted to avoid. That's right. There was no need to draw that creepy magic circle on the entrance to the chapel and show off the fact that the corpses were there. Wait, this isn't my... That's not my Goda voice. That's my fucking... What's the other guy's voice? The other guy with the really deep voice. Right, exactly that. Furthermore, if they were able to take the time and effort to do something so horrible to those 6, it should have been equally possible for them to hide the 6 corpses where they would be impossible to find. I agree. That brutal Halloween party probably wasn't directed at those who died. It was directed at the people who would eventually discover it. Us. You could probably claim that the magic circle was there to show it to us. The culprit knew that they wouldn't be able to get away from this island for a while, and yet they acted as though they wanted to make us find the corpses in the middle of this typhoon. What does this mean? If I was the culprit, I definitely wouldn't play around and make us find the corpses. Beatrice-sama was not in her room. The room did not seem particularly disturbed. No, Milady did disturb it quite a lot, though. Come to think of it, what happened to Jessica? Kanon-san is looking after her. They are probably in Milady's room. That isn't good. The culprit is definitely still on the island. In this situation, I don't believe it's a very good idea to isolate ourselves in small numbers. What do you mean by that? You don't mean to say that the culprit plans to kill all of us? Let us remain calm. That is not yet certain. But we can't deny the possibility, much to my chagrin. Not the time for the... This letter was in the chapel. According to this, the culprit is the witch, and if we don't solve the riddle of grandfather's epitaph and find the gold, she'll massacre the whole family, or something like that. Is that true? Would you allow me to read it as well? As they read the witch's letter, Goda, Kumasawa, and Nanjo's faces grew even paler than they had been. Kumasawa could no longer hide her shaking. If you don't want to die, try finding grandfather's hidden gold, huh? Screwing around with us, Fuzaki Akate. I'll bet you can't solve the riddle, so you're going to try to make us solve it. However, I wonder what the truth is. Madame always insisted that the legend of the gold was nothing more than a fantasy created by the master. It is doubtful whether that actually existed. True. Supposedly, they thought it would be nice if it existed, but only somewhat believed it. The relatives only all started believing in the legend of the gold after Kinzo's health worsened and the inheritance problem came up. I would think that there were very few people who believed it before then. Really, I wonder if that's why. Do you remember? On the table in the chapel, there were 3 gold ingots. That alone is worth quite a lot. Couldn't that truly prove that the legend of the gold was real? Excuse me, please wait. Just now, did you say 3 gold bars? Yeah, there were definitely 3 of them piled up. So what? Well, I happened to hear Kraus-sama talking about it once. Yes, I just heard it, you understand? It's not like I was trying to listen to his discussions in secret. Gracious, no. Okay, like, you're just, like, incriminating yourself with over qualification there. Don't worry about that now, so then what? Is there something wrong with there being 3 of those gold bars? Yes. According to Kraus Sama, there was only one bar ever found to support the legend of the gold. That is correct. I do believe the story goes that Kinzo-san showed the president of Maruso a mountain of gold and let him take one bar back with him. And that one came to be in Kraus-sama's possession. And he said this as well, that there was no gold which supported the master's legend besides that one. You're talking about my uncle here, right? So what have we got here? No, wait. 3? Wait. Where did they come from? That's too many of them. Yeah, thanks, math. Just hit you 1, not 3. Thanks. Might we not think of it this way? Maybe the other people in the family each found one, and they each brought one of them here. No, I cannot believe that. When all of the relatives came to the mansion, I was entrusted with their luggage. I did not feel any suspicious weight back then. I think they weighed about 10 kilograms. If that much weight was in their bags, even I would notice. But it didn't seem that way. Same here. At the most, there were some changes of clothes, medicine, Kirie-san's makeup. That's about it, I think. Auntie Rose's luggage also looked pretty light. In that case, those 3 piled up gold bars are being shown to them. Or maybe us, telling us that the legend of the gold is definitely real, that it isn't a fantasy, and that challenging us to uncover it. Could there be a scheme to have us solve the epitaph which points to the hidden location and then try to snatch it away? That does fit best, but there are a few parts that don't make sense. First, our parents, who should have been the most likely to be able to solve the epitaph, were killed first. I think that creates an immediate contradiction. And something else makes even less sense. They're trying to say that the legend of the gold is actually true, but how could they prepare that gold? It's almost like the culprit had already found the gold and is telling us to try and find it too. Maybe the culprit obtained the 3 like Uncle Kraus and thereby became certain about the legend of the gold, and is trying to make us search for the rest. I think that is way more convincing. The pieces on the chessboard aren't lining up at all. You better turn that bitch around. We don't have a clue what the culprit is planning, what they want to make us do. Is it pointless? Thinking about anything at this point in time.
It was written down what she wants you to do. Can't any of you read?
Maria suddenly laughed in a creepy voice. I'd thought she'd been concentrating on the TV, but she'd been listening in too, apparently. And she remained facing the TV. She very simply told us what we were forgetting.
Beatrice hasn't said one word about wanting the gold. She's not asked anything except whether you can solve the epitaph's riddle or not. Although I bet she thinks it'll be impossible for you anyway.
So you're saying you can solve it, Maria?
Don't care. She's going to take me to the Golden Land, so get in Beatrice's way.
Looks like if we want to understand further, we're going to have to ask Maria. What, with your fist? Maria, tell us. Fucking bully. Who is this Beatrice? What is she planning?
Well, you see, Beatrice is a witch. She can do anything with her wondrous powers. Anything can be done with the power of magic. You can create gold, you can create bread, and of course, you can even create sweets. You saw it, didn't you?
Huh? At that time, everyone jumped at the sound of a door being closed forcefully. We turned, God, those fucking tits. We turned around to find that at some point Rosa had returned, bringing Genji and Shannon. Then she rapidly approached Maria, her heels clacking, and hit her sharply on the cheek. No sound effect? Stop talking about that. Battler-kun and the rest will take it badly. Without waiting for a response, she slapped Maria's cheek once more. Everyone could only stand there shocked. They could, like, I don't know, there's options. I don't know what "oo" means. What about yes? She mercilessly slapped Maria's cheek again. Maybe she didn't feel like resting after being hit twice. Maria weakly said, yes. Rosa-san, there was no reason to do something so harsh. This is my daughter's education. I would greatly appreciate it if you didn't interject. The atmosphere around Rosa with Genji and Shannon in tow was somehow cold and yet dignified, completely different from how she seemed before she left. We saw that Auntie Rosa was holding something that looked like a gun. I'm afraid. We couldn't imagine that she would have brought back a toy in this situation. Auntie Rosa, what is... Oh boy. This is father's. Because of the current situation, I borrowed it specially. Specially? I'm sure you all realize as well as I do, the culprit is still nearby. We don't know what could happen. I agree, so give me that gun, please, before you put your shoulder all the way off your arm. Rather than trying to figure out what the culprit is planning, it might be better to first think about our own safety. So hand me the gun. Father was all right, but he was slightly agitated by these sudden events. Fortunately, he said that he won't leave his room, so he's probably safe. Now we should do all we can to gather in the same place. I agree. We don't even know where the culprit is hiding. And anyway, there's no proof that there's only one of them. I shivered at the words that had come out of my own mouth. That's right, I'm narrating again. Could a single person kill 6 people and create such a horrible scene all alone? Isn't it natural to assume that this crime was carried out by multiple culprits? I agree with Rosa-san. It is probably good for us to gather in one place. My goodness, yes, I also think that is good. Yes, yes. Maybe it would be good to call Milady and Kanon-san here already. Good idea. Let's have them come down. George Aniki made to grab the extension phone, but Goda-san shook his head. Oh right, we can't use phones right now. I'll go with a couple people. If George Aniki and Goda-san come as well, that should be enough. No, let's all go together. It's a wolves and sheep puzzle. If we're all gathered together here in equilibrium, that situation is the most safe. Wolves and sheep puzzle?
I have it. Show you.
Maria, turn off the television. Genji-san, please tell me where Jessica-chan's room is. Let's all go together. Yes. I will guide you. Come on, everyone. We'll move together. Follow my instructions. We stood up. Maria alone looked like she had some lingering attachment to the TV, but she went along with everyone for now and got up. Shannon, thank goodness. Oh yeah, they're both still alive in this timeline? Wait, hold on. I'm actually kind of surprised.
I'm sorry to have worried you. The master ordered me to copy down something.
Copy down? Shannon.
I'm sorry, excuse me.
Nice house. We headed for Jessica's room, led by Genji-san and Auntie Rosa holding the gun. Someone take the gun! Jessica and Kanon-kun are a girl and boy of about the same age. That'd sure be a shame if we walked in on them at a bad time, is what I would have joked about normally, I'm sure. I like how he suppresses the intrusive thoughts during the danger situation. However, Auntie Rosa was on edge, constantly exuding tension. So it really wasn't the kind of atmosphere where I could joke like that. She's also holding a gun and not trustworthy. Hey, don't fall behind. Everyone move together. We don't know when or where the culprit might leap out at us, you know. No, maybe Auntie Rosa's attitude was more appropriate. Not really. Since grandfather hadn't come down, Auntie Rosa was the leader. This wasn't a situation where she could smile like she always did. And Auntie Rosa was herself a mother. She probably also thought that if she didn't get a hold of herself, some harm might befall her beloved daughter. No more than she's gonna cause. I have to piss. I'll be right back. I love this image. She's adorable with her little fucking terrifying gun. Oh boy. It's always when you're in the middle of doing something, you end up having to take the longest, slowest piss you've ever taken. Everybody's still here. Everybody's still alive, awake in America and other places. Sound off. What's the word I'm looking for? Attendance check. Attendance sound off. Currently battling your printer. Are you battler your printer? That was a terrible joke. All right, back to reading Umineko. The culprit had killed 6 of our parents at once. Many of you dream of such a reality. The method they had used was unknown, but there was a good chance that this opponent could take down a large number of people in an instant. Was that with weapons or with numbers? Or was it the magic of a witch? In any case, it definitely didn't look like there were any factors indicating we could get careless. The rest of us should also take much, much greater care, like Auntie Rosa. That's not taking a lot of care. She's just raising the gun at a moment's notice. Everyone stop! Auntie Rosa spoke in a sharp voice. When we peered forwards, wondering what was up, we immediately noticed the reason. Oh shit. What is this? Everyone, get back! Goda-san and Genji-san approached the door. Jessica's room was probably on the other side of that door. This seems to be the same paint that was scribbled on the door to the chapel. It appears so. It appears that not much time has passed since it was drawn. What is that? Another magic circle?
It's the first magic circle of the moon. It has the power to open unopenable doors.
She's actually kind of speaking in a lower voice than I was. The door to Jessica's room had that creepy graffiti on it which had been drawn on the door to the chapel. That strange shape definitely had some meaning related to the occult, but it didn't matter what the meaning was. We were more worried about... It might, dog. You might want to pay attention to what the meaning is. We were more worried about whether those two were all right. That doesn't matter. Are Jessica-chan and Kanon-kun all right? I have a bad premonition. We should quickly take those two downstairs. Milady! Milady! Are you there? Please answer! Goda-san knocked violently and yelled, but there was no answer. He twisted the doorknob with a clatter, but the lock just resisted him. Rosa-sama, it appears to be locked. There are no other options. She's gonna blast that fucker right off. Please open it. Genji nodded, and Goda quickly unlocked the door with the master key. Never mind. In the back of my mind, horrible images floated up and disappeared one after another. A magic circle had been drawn on the door to the chapel, and 6 corpses had been behind that. So, if there was a magic circle drawn on the door to Jessica's room, then beyond it... Jessica-sama! What happened? Is she there? Jessica! Based on the music, I think she's probably dead. What happened? It was truly heartless. The expression on Goda-san's face and what he said when he opened the door prepared us for the brutal fate that Jessica might have met, even without seeing her. Everyone tumbled into Jessica's room at once. That scene told everyone that their worst fears were right on the mark. Jessica! Oh, my. Dr. Nanjo. The room seemed elegant for Jessica's age, and there she was inside it, lying on the ground. There was a large pool of blood on the floor, and there was a knife or something sticking deep into her back. Was it a knife? There was a design on the handle that had to have been done in a devil motif. There was no doubt that this weapon carried some kind of occult meaning. This is horrible. She has passed away. This probably reaches her lungs. Not much time has passed since she died. Jessica! Character profiles updated. Alright, let's check that out. She gonna be like, bitch, I'm dead. Found in her own room in the mansion with a weapon shaped like a stake having been rammed into her back. At the very end, she got to be with the person she loved. She must have been happy. Did we see them die? Did this did we... Wait, Kanon's still... Well, maybe we're about to find his corpse. I don't know. Damn it. Damn it!
Baru-sama.
I was naive. I knew it. Since they couldn't escape the island, the culprit was definitely close by. Then why wasn't I on my guard straight away? I was naive. I just assumed that the culprit snuck away after they commit a crime. We were stunned then. We thought we just had to accept it when Jessica-chan gave in to rage and ran off. But we were naive. We should have stopped her. Goda-san, why did you leave those two alone? If only you had been with them, something like this would never... Of course, she has to find somebody to blame. No, you see, I said it was dangerous, so we should return. It's just that Milady said that she wanted to be alone. Kanon-san told me to leave it to him, and... Speaking of which, where is Kanon-san? That's right. What in the world happened to Kanon-kun?
Kanon-kun? Where?
Kanon-san should have been with Milady. Where in the world? You don't think they got him? Quiet. Someone might be hiding in this room. Search under the bed and in the closet. There was also a chance that Kanon-kun's corpse had been pushed away somewhere. At Rosa-san's order, everyone searched the room together, but there wasn't a single human hiding anywhere. Only dogs. He's nowhere. Could the culprit have taken him out of the room? Then we have to search for him quickly and save him. If we're slow, something awful might happen. The forum. Auntie Rosa, let's search all over the mansion. Let's search for the culprit. Let's save Kanon-kun. Quiet! Auntie Rosa yelled at us loudly, and we fell instantly silent. She was probably contemplating something. But what in the world could that be? I don't know. Give her a fucking second. Maybe you'll find out. Auntie Rosa walked around the room as though looking for something, or as though she was collecting her thoughts. I know what's going through her head. She's thinking, special edition and your AI couldn't copy. Then she found something on the side table by the bed and picked it up. If anyone knows, tell me. What key is this? Auntie Rosa showed everyone a key with a cute mascot attached to it. Judging from its cute appearance, I didn't doubt that it was Jessica's key, but I had no way of knowing what key it was. It is probably the key to this, to Milady's room. After hearing that, Auntie Rosa made a point of going outside the door and checking. Without a doubt, it was the key to this room. I wonder why it was set in a place like this. Normally, don't you keep important keys in your pocket? I mean, I guess.
Milady wasn't in the habit of locking her room, except for when she went to school. It seems she would do it then because she didn't want Cross-sama to look inside her room.
I see. She wasn't at school, so it's natural that Jessica-chan would set the key down here. How many keys can open this door? Just the one Milady had. Can't it be opened with your master keys? They can open it. How many master keys are there? Do all of the servants have one? Are there extras? Yes, we all have one. As for extras, I wonder.
There used to be several, but Madame strongly scolded us that this was careless, so I believe they have been dealt with.
That is correct. There is only one held by each servant. There are no more. Huh? Wait a second. Is he outside of time right now? In the last game, I thought we said there were extra master keys. Okay, so he is outside of time right now. Okay. Yes. Regarding that, I have noticed that having several master keys whose locations are unknown is quite disadvantageous for me. Well, yeah. Since you want to make me believe in magic by using locked rooms, it must be really disadvantageous for you to have master keys unaccounted for. In fact, every time a trick related to locks shows up, I was planning to resist by arguing that the culprit possessed a master key that someone had lost in the past, or a duplicate. Yes, exactly. So I've decided to make a move to defeat that. I'll alter the setup. The only master keys are the ones held by the servants, one key each. Messing with me. More importantly, what is this move? What's Auntie Rosa saying? Who knows? She's crazy. I don't pretend to understand crazy bitch logic. You should try listening in. See if you can make sense of this crazy shit. Thank you. I have the situation sorted out. And I've managed to identify the culprit who assaulted Jessica-chan, or maybe one of their accomplices. What did you say? Who is that? Auntie Rosa, you can't be talking about Kanon-kun.
Huh? Why Kanon-kun?
This room was locked, and the only keys that could unlock this room are the master keys that each servant is holding, as well as the key Jessica had. But Jessica-chan's key was closed up in there, which means the only keys that could have locked it are the master keys. It is as you say. In that case, someone killed Jessica-chan, then locked the door. That person was holding a master key, and there are only 5 people who were holding master keys. Oh my! It wasn't me, not me! Gracious, no, I couldn't do something like that. Kumasawa-san, you got up late. After we returned from the chapel to the parlor, we did meet you there, but it's impossible to prove where you were and what you were doing until that time. You watched us from the shadows, chafed us to Jessica-chan and Kanon-kun when they were isolated, and stealthily attacked them. Are you saying that I visited Milady's room and did something so horrible? I did no such thing. Gracious, no such thing. What about you, Goda-san? You said that you left Jessica-chan in Kanon-kun's care in return. But I wonder if that's true. I wonder if you didn't really kill the two of them, hide Kanon-kun's corpse, and then come back with an innocent look on your face. Nothing of that sort happened. I swear on my name that I did not do anything like that.
It wasn't us either. We were following the master's orders and... Yes, at least you and Genji-san are all right. That is backed up by what I heard from Father. The two of you were in Father's room the whole time, one copying and one standing witness. Father and I can guarantee that. Thank you very much. In that case, I think the argument becomes who is more suspicious, Goda-san or Kumasawa-san. That's how I thought too, at least in the first moments after entering this room. But then I thought it was strange. Look at the state of Jessica-chan's body. Don't you think it's strange? Strange, you say? Jessica-chan was stabbed in the back. Come on, it's often generally said, right, that in crimes where the victim is stabbed in the back, there's a high likelihood that the culprit was someone whose face was known to the victim. She definitely wouldn't invite a person that she doesn't trust into her room and defenselessly expose her back. God. Armchair psychologist, the criminal psychologist Rosa over here. Did I listen to the album you recommended? I don't think so. I don't know. Depends what album you recommended. I need to be reminded. Rosa-sama, you couldn't mean to say that it was Kanon-kun.
Yes. We know well what state Jessica-chan was in right before she was killed. Jessica-chan was very panicked after seeing her parents' tragic bodies, and it's easy to imagine after she regained her composure, she'd have been in a horrible slump. I can really understand that if Jessica-chan's frame of mind led her to shut herself up alone in her room, and those particulars would also fit with Goda-san's story. Jessica-chan said to leave her alone. Then Kanon-kun, who is of a similar age and may have had some adolescent relationship with her, said to leave it to him. I can really understand why he'd feel that way. And then that is from the very reason why Jessica-chan welcomed Kanon-kun into her room. But what if it had been Goda-san or Kumasawa-san? Would she have let them into her room? I believe that I have gained Milady's trust, but even so, then you are another suspect after all, right, Goda-san? I thought that you probably weren't liked by Jessica-chan, so I believe she wouldn't have let you into her room. So I thought it was impossible that you were the culprit, but no, I am afraid to say that I may not have been accepted by Milady. Kumasawa-san, what about you? A senior like me is far too separated by age to understand the feelings of a young person like Milady very well, and perhaps Milady did not open up her heart to me, right, Goda-san? Yes, that's right. She probably did not open her heart to us to a great degree. It would be inconceivable that Milady would let us into her room when she was heartbroken. They look so satisfied with themselves. Goda-san and Kumasawa-bachan each clasped their hands together, affirming each other with forced smiles on their faces. It was a really unpleasant routine. Someone who would be permitted to enter Jessica-chan's room when she was heartbroken, who would have been given access to her defenseless back, and that person had a master key. That only points to one person. It was impossible for anyone except Kanon-kun. Rosa's mentality. Trust is the problem.
Please, wait. Kanon-kun definitely wouldn't do something like...
Oh, then is there someone else? Is Goda-san or Kumasawa-san suspicious after all? Which of the two do you think is more suspicious, Shannon-chan? Come on.
I don't...
It wasn't me, Shannon-san. Gracious, no, it was not me. Of course, it wasn't me either. It was Kanon-san who had a close relationship with the lady, and you, Shannon-san, if anyone. Oh, yes, I almost forgot. Jessica-chan might have also let Shannon-chan into her room. But you should have been with father. But in reality, are you the culprit?
Shannon-chan can't be the culprit.
You only just said that she was doing some important work with grandfather. Where was all this defense for the other guys, George? Not gonna say anything for anybody else? Yes, I know that. Neither Shannon-chan nor Genji-san is the culprit. Even father— she's just fucking with them. Even father acknowledges that they were together the whole time. Well then, what do you think, everyone? That or she's really changing her mind back and forth, like, forgetting her own evidence. Asked that, no one could respond. Because even if someone did argue back, they would then have to offer the name of a different suspicious person, and no matter whose name that person was here. No one could do something like that. Auntie Rosa glanced at everyone in turn, fingering the gun like it was a toy. A toy she could finger. She seemed so different from the normal, kind Auntie Rosa. No, it's probably because I still don't feel how much danger we're in. Maybe Auntie Rosa's attitude seemed natural to me. I wasn't fully appreciating the danger. Looks like no one has an opinion. Then I will say mine. Of course, I can't deny the possibility that Kanon-kun is a victim without a corpse. But until we find his corpse, I also definitely can't deny the possibility that Kanon-kun is a suspect. There's a chance that Kanon-kun may claim to have been attacked by the culprit and confined somewhere. He may appear unexpectedly with that excuse. But take care. Maybe, probably, no, definitely, Kanon-kun killed Jessica-chan. No way.
I can't believe it. For Kanon-kun to do that to Milady, that's too much to accept.
I feel the same as Shannon. I oppose labeling Kanon-kun as the culprit. Then is the culprit Koda-san or is it Kumasawa-san? Tell me who's more suspicious so I can cap their ass right now. If it wasn't Kanon-kun, then who could have locked this door? Shannon-chan? George-kun? Well? Auntie Rosa closed in on Shannon-chan and George Aniki, laughing unpleasantly. Y'all could have taken that gun any fucking time. Of course, they couldn't say anything back. They wanted to believe in Kanon-kun, but if they did, they would have to suspect the other servants. Hey, what's up, Mel? The simplest culprit was the mystery guest Beatrice, but she was nothing more than a guest and didn't have a master key. Then if Beatrice was the culprit without a master key, do we have to accept the argument that she really is a witch and locked the door with the power of magic? Yes. That's a filthy argument. Filthy. What's so difficult? Make it my fault. You can just make it the fault of the 19th person, the mystery guest, can you not? If you do, you won't have to watch this ugly battle of humans pressing each other. So then what? The culprit is the 19th person, the guest Beatrice. She's a witch, so she could lock the door without a key using magic. Are you telling me to accept that? No goddamn way. No goddamn way. Fuzakiru na! In the last game, I learned all of your weak points. So, what now? You said you were never going to accept me, did you not? In that case, you can use Kanon as a perfect sacrifice. Kanon killed Jessica. If you support Rosa's theory, everything is settled here, you know. Kanon is already dead. There should be no need to show concern for the dead, and you won't have to doubt anyone here.
Damn it! I won't accept you, but Kanon-kun being the culprit, that's impossible. I don't want to suspect anyone. However, it is sometimes the case that the suspicions are the guilty. In any case, there is probably nothing better than caution.
The Nanjo? What do you mean by that?
Please do not misunderstand. I do not wish to label Kanon-kun as the culprit. However, until we understand the situation, there is the possibility that Kanon-san is the culprit. And I believe keeping that in mind is safer.
Yes, that's right. You cannot be too cautious. On some Stephen King shit. It didn't seem as though anyone blamed Nanjo. In reality, no one thought that Kanon was the culprit, but if they didn't suspect him, they would have to suspect one of the servants here. We didn't want to do that. We didn't want to suspect. We didn't want to be suspected. That is the correct way to think. We cannot be too vigilant. Is there anyone who objects to that? Is that what you're trying to say was your whole point, was just to be vigilant? You sound like you want to shoot Kanon-kun the second you fucking lay eyes on him and be justified about it. Listen, there's a very high likelihood that this murder case is related to the legend of Father's Gold. In that case, it's certainly the crime of someone plotting to keep a vast amount of gold worth tens of billions of yen all for themselves. With that amount of money, you could play around for the rest of your life in any country. So that's what she wants to do with the money. With that amount of money, you could guiltlessly abandon your daughter. Do you know how many babysitters I could hire? It may be possible that they would massacre us for this reason. For the simple reason that our guest wasn't holding a master key for the murder of Jessica-chan and this murder alone. We removed our 19th person, Beatrice, from suspicion, but we can't say that she is unrelated to the crime. After all, it's a vast amount of gold we're talking about. We can't deny the possibility that there are multiple culprits. Right now, one of the people here among us might have been bought by the culprit. As Auntie Rosa yelled, she looked all around, her gun still raised. Don't believe anyone, suspect the person next to you, that's what she was saying. But no one wanted to suspect. They didn't want to suspect anyone here. That weakness in their hearts demanded an answer from those not here. That's not weakness, that's... You all know Rosa crazy. There are only two groups of people you can be sure aren't suspects. Yourself and those who are already corpses. The same goes for Kanon-kun. That's not a good reason to think they're not the culprit. Until we catch sight of his corpse, he is the most likely suspect in Jessica-chan's murder. So take care. Even if he's still alive, even if he smooths things over with some explanation, you absolutely must not trust him. Alright? No one gave an answer of their own initiative. However, those who met Auntie Rosa's eyes had to nod their heads. Humans are social beings. In other words, from the time they are born, trusting each other is imprinted in their genes, but you're trusting her on the basis of her saying not to trust people. It is unpleasant to go against that. They definitely don't want to suspect anyone. I think this game may contain themes of cognitive dissonance. But if they had to suspect someone, they thought that choosing one of the people not here right now would be the most acceptable. For just the reason of acceptability, they had passively chosen to sacrifice Kanon in their, theoretical mind space of, this is ridiculous. I definitely don't want to believe that Kanon-kun is the culprit. I'd only just heard it from George Eineke, but not only were those two close in age, they also had that adolescent relationship Auntie Rosa had mentioned. It may be a little late now, but yes, they really did have that kind of air about them. After seeing their parents' tragic bodies, Jessica, bearing deep wounds in her heart, would only have trusted Kanon-kun. That's a very conceivable story, so I don't like it. Kanon-kun was the only one she trusted. So I feel like I'm reading this like Titus reads the Final Fantasy 10. What's it like narration? We were all from Xanark, so she wouldn't have let anyone but Kanon-kun in. So he was the only one who could have killed Jessica. I just can't accept that line of argument. Understand? Even if Kanon-kun appears, don't get careless. As long as we cannot prove Kanon-kun's innocence, we will suppose that Kanon-kun is the culprit who killed Jessica-chan. Auntie Rosa made that claim by using the ever so slightly vague word suppose. Ultimately, she gave everyone that last little push they needed. Everyone nodded weakly, and under the excuse that they were just temporarily supposing it, they concluded that Kanon was the culprit who had killed Jessica. In a non-meaningful way. I wonder what the dead Jessica and Kanon would think if they could hear this exchange. Probably, someone should have took that gun from that bitch. Like, way back when she picked it up. Oh god, their ghosts are actually fucking watching the scenario. That's hilarious. Jessica was crying. She was crying in the chest of the person who had put his life on the line to fight for her kanon. It was frustrating, kuyashi, so frustrating that it felt like her chest would explode. She grieved and resented how far the dignity of the dead had been trampled.
Those guys, why are they treating you like the culprit?
Because there's no corpse.
Why are they treating you like the culprit? Because there's no corpse. You risked your life to fight for me. Then that witch erased your corpse for fun. To call you the culprit because of that, it's horrible. It's too horrible.
It sounds like they had the voice actress stand like 10 feet away from the microphone so that it's like a not quite present voice. That's fun. It's all right. In the end, I couldn't completely protect you, but I was able to be of use to you, milady.
So, why doesn't everyone understand that? Stop it, Auntie Rosa. Don't call Kanon-kun the culprit with that messed up reasoning.
She isn't saying that I'm the culprit. She's just saying I'm suspicious. No. She's saying to be careful.
She is saying it. These people are saying you're the culprit, Kanon-kun, so they can stop thinking. They aren't going to think about who the culprit who killed me is anymore. They aren't going to think of the possibility that you aren't the culprit. And after this, every time something happens, they'll repeat the excuse that it was the work of Kanon-kun who's gone missing. I can't stand that.
But it's all right. At least you know the truth, milady.
If only I know the truth, that's pointless. I found out by dying. Truth belongs to living humans. If the truth doesn't remain, the dead won't be rewarded. They won't know why you risked your life.
Truly a splendid sight. It is a rare honey that is sweeter than the laments of the dead. Lament. No matter how much you lament, the voices of the dead never reach the living. Damn it. It doesn't matter who. Hear my voice. Kanon-kun isn't the culprit. Kanon-kun's corpse was just erased. Why don't you understand that? Milady.
I can't take this. It's so sad. It's so frustrating. If it's like this, you died for nothing. The dead have no honor unless the living acknowledge it. It doesn't matter who. Realize, please. Kanon-kun isn't the culprit. Don't go, guys. Please don't let it end like this. Don't go.
Rosa proclaimed that this room should be sealed until the police came. The rest didn't want to suspect each other, so they happily accepted that. They accepted Kanon as the tentative culprit, without even imagining how much disgrace that gave to the dead. They accepted it. Milady, it's all right now. This really reminds me of the story of that one of the Japan's top 3 vengeful spirits. That's talked about in Shaman King, I think. Or was it in this? No, it's in this game. This does come up in this game, right? I think it also comes up in Shaman King. That Japan has like guys who were like betrayed and blamed after death, and then like history found out like, oh, whoops, these guys did not do that stuff. So they're probably haunting the country like mega hard. Thank you.
Don't go, guys. I beg you, come back. Don't leave us like this. Don't leave Kanon-kun treated as the culprit.
It won't reach. The laments of the dead never reach.
You make me laugh. Yes, that face of yours makes me laugh.
You're thinking it will reach, aren't you? It won't reach, Jessica. That's no goddamn good. Oh shit. Huh? Oh shit. Battler-kun's about to fucking Phoenix Wright on all everybody. Battler-kun, did you say something? Yeah. This is no good. It's no goddamn good at all. At the time everyone made to leave the room, only Battler had his back to them, and he was still looking down at Jessica's body. What do you mean it's no good at all? Do you have some objection? I'll at least agree that we have to be vigilant. But this talk about having Kanon-kun be the culprit, sorry, but allow me to refuse. Oh. So you're biting into this part. If Kanon wasn't the culprit and it wasn't my doing either, then how do you explain this locked room that Jessica's room has become? Honestly, I've got to throw my hands up there. Seriously, why'd I say it's no goddamn good? I've got to take responsibility for my own actions. I'm empty-handed with 0 weapons to argue with. But you know, I won't stand here twiddling my thumbs anymore. Beatrice!
Battler-sama?
Is there some proof that Kanon-kun isn't the culprit? The expressions that rose to those two faces was definitely expectant. They didn't want to believe that Kanon was the culprit. In truth, they believed in Kanon. So this expectation was because they wanted to be made to believe in him even more strongly. Then, Battler-kun, which of the other servants do you suspect? Goda-san, or is it Kumasawa-san? Quit it, Auntie Rosa. I know the person called Kumasawa-bachan well. She'll sometimes slack off on work, but she'll always try to make things fun for people. She is not a person who would kill, not even if her eyes were dazzled by money. Battler-sama. And I've just met Goda-san yesterday. Honestly, I still don't really understand him. But there is one thing I understand. The man cooks a mean moon pie. I've never seen someone look so happy to be making food. You're the same. The same as Kumasawa-bachan. Goda likes to make people happy. As if a person like that could kill those who praised his own food as delicious, even if money was piled up in front of him. Then who do you think killed Jessica-chan, Battler-kun? Who do you think shut Jessica-chan up in a room that could only be locked by a master key? Wait. Before I argue about that, there's something I want to make clear. I don't want to talk about if so-and-so is not the culprit, then so-and-so is the culprit. I just want to talk about how it's completely impossible for Kanon-kun to be the culprit. You say that you can establish that Kanon isn't the culprit. How? It's really simple. It's something I came dangerously close to overlooking. Beato. Repetition requested. Say it if you can. Kanon-kun was holding a master key. Oh. Kanon-kun wasn't holding a master key? How can you tell that? I heard what Goda-san said before, just before he split up with Kanon-kun. The part about when Jessica went to raid the VIP room. Goda-san, you did a good job remembering it. You protected Kanon-kun's honor. I did? I heard him talk about the same thing, but I don't really understand. Could you explain it, Battler-kun? That's right. When Jessica unlocked the VIP room, she borrowed the key from Kanon-kun, but didn't give it back. So Kanon-kun wasn't holding a master key. Oh, shit. Or was he? Certainly Goda has no recollection of the master key being returned to Kanon. However, she might have returned it when Goda wasn't looking. How can you prove that it definitely didn't happen? If you could just search the pocket of Kanon's corpse, you could probably establish that, but you can't. It is impossible to prove. No goddamn good at all. It's truly simple to prove, isn't it? No way. So you're saying that Kanon-kun wasn't holding a key? Yeah, and to prove it, all you have to do is search Jessica. Kanon-kun's master key should be in Jessica's pocket. Dr. Nanjo, would you check for us?
Yes.
had a feeling that's where he was going with this. Nanjo dashed up to, just so many words in between. Nanjo dashed up to Jessica and searched in her jacket pocket. Everyone hoped for it. This fucking tune goes off, though. Please, be there. Here it is. Is this it? Oh, fuck. Yes. That is a master key. Without a doubt. At Genji's statement, there was a small oh of joyful voices. That is Kanon-kun's master key. I'll say it again. Kanon-kun isn't holding a master key. Therefore, there's no way he could have locked the door. It certainly does appear that way. But Kanon-kun was the last person to meet Jessica-chan. The fact that he's suspicious hasn't changed. Let's give that a rest. Huh? Humans were originally supposed to be creatures that trust each other. But in order to live in a tough world, we learn to be wary. So we'll doubt anything. We are sad creatures. I won't deny that's our nature. But I won't permit you to come to a conclusion without proof. This game really is just 12 Angry Men if it was like 700 hours long. The suspicious are not the guilty, they are the innocent. Of course, the world is full of wolves. I won't tell you to carelessly believe everyone. But if you're going to say someone's guilty, prepare some perfect evidence. Unless you can do that, never say someone is guilty because of speculation. But that would fuck up my whole worldview. I was the one who said the suspicious were the guilty. That was thoughtless. I apologize.
Battler-sama.
Wonderful reasoning, Battler-kun. Thank you too, Goda-san. Because of what you remembered, Kanon-kun is cleared from suspicion. No, Those fucking Bomberman-ass noises. Clap, clap, clap. I want her to be saying it. It was the dry sound of the witch's applause. Well done, well done. Not a bad job. Shit. Did I just fall for a blatant bait piece? Oh, I don't know. Was Beatrice the Golden Witch the one who just spoke to you? Then probably. You wonderfully proved that at least Kanon couldn't lock the door to this room. The servants should all have been holding master keys, which out as a basis, Kanon was treated as the culprit, so you did a wonderful job of at least clearing away that suspicion. I almost want to do like a Trump voice, like she's mocking so, like his, you wonderfully proved, In that case, how did the culprit who killed Jessica lock the door? So that's the problem I have now. I've been drawn into a development that went exactly like you wanted. Right into my trap, yes? Furthermore, you said something outrageous about not doubting any of the other servants. Well then, it'll be worth seeing how you gloss this over. Shut your face. Let's get this started. I'm sure I'll be denied from all angles, but first I'll verify the definition of what it means for this room to be a locked room. Very well. First, there are absolutely no types of hidden doors. This door is the only way in or out. The only way to lock this door is with Jessica's single key or the master keys, only one of which is held by each servant. Well, none is held by Kanon. It is on the second floor, but it is probably possible to enter or leave through the window. However, the window is locked from the inside. I guess a servant now holds the key. No, Nanjo has the key still, right? Let me flip over the chessboard right away. If I start by arguing about the door and the lock, I probably won't leave the palm of your hand. Do as you like. Well then, what should I repeat? Repetition requested. Kanon-kun was killed in this room. Kanon-kun was killed in this room. Although I erased his corpse with magic, of course. And again, repetition requested. Kanon-kun's corpse is in this room. I decline. I cannot repeat it, because I erased the corpse with magic. Of course you win. There's gotta be a secret hidden in there somewhere. Damn, where's the point of contention to this riddle? Is it that they locked it without a master key, or is it how they managed to kill 2 people who were inside a room with a door locked and get rid of a corpse? Or is it how they managed to escape after killing them both? What about the erasing of the corpse? I hate to say it, but I'll have to tackle this one step at a time. Repetition requested. The last time it was locked was by a master key. I also declined that. This declining thing is really vague. I don't know if you decline because it's impossible to repeat or whether you can repeat it and you're declining on purpose. Yep, that's why she set you up like this, battler. Back when discussing the lock to the chapel, you completely turned the tables on me. When I have an advantage, there's no need to go out of my way to speak using the red, which carries risk. That's all it is. Yeah, I guess so. At its heart, the red is something you use when you want to stop my strange theories. It is natural that I would use it to my advantage because of the risk of it being quibbled with. Quibbled? I won't use it uselessly. Is that a real word? Quibbled, past tense of quibble. Argue or raise objections about in a trivial manner. Or about a trivial matter, sorry. Argue or raise objections about a trivial matter. To quibble. That's like the only thing my parents ever do is quibble. Well then, what move will you come at me with next? A move that's actually all this game is quibbling. I guess it's not trivial matters, but they do quibble about the trivialities of the matter. A move that puts Goda or Kumasawa under suspicion would probably be the easiest to use, right? Damn. It's like you're leading me down a path. Goddamn annoying. Stay quiet a while, I'm thinking. Of course, this door is the same as the chapel. When locked, it does not permit any form of entry or exit. I'll say more. No trick could have the effect of locking the door from the outside without using a key. Damn you for always using red when I don't ask for it. Let's back up. Let me just think. I'll lay out everything I know. First, there are 2 victims. Jessica and Kanon-kun. Kanon-kun's corpse isn't here, but Beatrice admitted in red that Kanon-kun was killed. So even without a corpse, he's included as a victim. There are a few questionable points, and depending on which I focus on, my line of thought changes a lot. First, after the culprit committed murder in this room, how did they lock it? If we assume the culprit was one of those holding a master key, it's extremely simple. But I want to avoid that if I can, because I would have to suspect Goda-san or Kumasawa-san. No, in the worst case, even Shannon-chan and Genji-san. I would have suspected that Jessica locked herself in. And the question is, how'd the killer get out? At this point, I noticed something. I'm contradicting myself. I'm cutting my own throat. I want to deny Beatrice no matter what. I want to erase the existence of that brutal, fickle, ridiculous witch. In order to do that, I have to explain everything, but that also means suspecting some human. I don't want to suspect someone. Of course, if there was some clear proof, I would have to believe that person was the culprit, but as long as that didn't happen, I didn't want to cast any suspicions. Am I just green? Am I just a kid who doesn't want to have my feelings, which tell me that at least this person or that person couldn't be a murderer betrayed? I want to deny that it was a witch. I also want to deny that it was a human. Make up another human. Now I don't know what it is anymore. In the first place, the only victory condition in our game regarded whether or not you could deny my existence. Even though that alone was a game that put you at a disadvantage, you've increased the number of victory conditions all by yourself and made your own victory difficult. That's something everybody does, isn't it? It's just as she says. If I started arguing that someone holding a master key was the culprit, this locked room could be easily broken. I have to pee again. I'll be back. Oh boy. I'm gonna eat a tangerine real quick. Ooh, watermelon like Jenny. Pusha with Australian 5. What do you think of people who say the entirety of Utena is an Umineko-esque time loop? I'm under the impression it's almost like that. Like, I don't know about a time loop per se, because like Anthe is supposed to be like ancient, and like spoilers for Utena if you haven't actually seen all of it, but like it is implied that there's like a cycle that's been going for a long time, that like every once in a while someone tries to become the prince, and ultimately the prince can never save the witch, and the message of the show is that the witch has to save herself. Like, that is the point of Utena, and I suspect probably the point of this game as well. But this game is like much more complicated on the storytelling level. Utena is to me primarily a comedy show. Like, I think like the fact that Utena has like deep themes and a deep story is almost incidental to the fact that it's a really funny comedy anime. You know, like it's like the comedy anime with the best window dressing, you know, like the best excuse for its comedy. It is tragic as well, but Bird is watching this show, this Apple TV show called I can't remember what it's called. It's about like a guy who coaches football, like British football. And it's like a funny show in that the dialogue is funny and the characters are saying funny things. So my instinct was to consider it as a comedy show. But the tone of it is tragedy, but like Shakespearean tragedy, which like Romeo and Juliet is a very funny play. It's full of jokes and like, you know, so to me Utena is a Shakespearean tragedy in the sense that it's a tragedy thematically, but it's still funny, and like, you know, it feels like it comes from a tradition when being funny was part of the point of like any story. Like it was regardlessly how it ends, it's expected to be funny. You know, keep it funny, as they used to say in slave times. Anyway. Okay, let's play more. It's just as she says. If I started arguing that someone holding a master key was the culprit, this locked room could be easily broken. However, since the number of keys that could open this door are limited, and furthermore it's clearly known who holds them, saying that would mean that I was suspecting someone I knew well. No, have I just been averting my eyes? In that locked room trick with the chapel, which had been exhilarating to destroy, I had proposed that someone stole the key from Maria's handbag and returned it. If that theory was right, then the question becomes who could have stolen the key from her handbag. Maria's handbag had probably been at its most unguarded when she was sleeping. In that case, in addition to me, George Aniki and Jessica are also suspects. Georgianiki or Jessica was the culprit. Or maybe an accomplice. All of our parents had been killed, right? And yet, one of us consented to that and assisted with the crime? We had lamented, mourned, and shed tears in the chapel, and yet one among us had been lying? That theory of yours is about taking the key out of the handbag and putting it back cast a pronounced suspicion on the cousins, did it not? Quite impressive. In spite of that, you managed to act like you didn't notice, and spoke your theory with such gusto. Damn it. That doesn't guarantee that one of the family or the servants is the culprit. If you snuck up on us hiding in a cardboard box, for example, there's a good chance you could have slunk into our room when we were fast asleep and stolen the key, right? That would also be acceptable in that instance. By suspecting me as the guest, the 19th person, you won't have to suspect them. But then, what will you do about the lock to Jessica's room? It's no trouble at all for me to open the lock with magic, but of course I don't have a master key. If you deny my magic, you also have to deny that I'm a suspect, you realize. And what that entails is suspecting one of you 18. Thanks for the lovely explanation. I've been able to sort things out a bit. My goal is to pursue how the 19th person, the human guest Beatrice, committed the crimes. If I do that, I won't have to suspect anyone. Crime committer. If you can do that, yes. Foolish man. A room like this never needed to be a locked room at all. After all, there are a total of 6 keys that can open it. And there were several who possessed those keys. You could suspect any of them. Suspect as much as you like. But you went to all the trouble of denying all those and made it a locked room yourself. Understand? This is a locked room born from your mental contradiction. There's no one else. You closed that door yourself. This is the kind of stuff that I like. This is how I talk to eggs and people who won't admit they're gay, like closeted people. This is exactly how I talk to them. That locked room born from your mental contradiction. There's no one else. You closed that door yourself. That's what I have to say to people in the closet. So accept that a witch opened it with magic, or accept that someone I know is the culprit. Those are my only 2 options, you're saying. Damn, are you trying to fork the rook? I merely wanted to show you that this move also exists. So, what will you do, Shiromi Battler? Isn't it a truly simple problem? You just have to make sacrifices of that overly self-confident cook and that hag who should have died years ago. Damn it! So if I suspect Goda-san and Kumasawa-san, everything's fine? That's no good. I can't think of Goda-san as the culprit. I can't think of Kumasawa-san as the culprit, but I won't accept you, ever! In that case, they would have to enter the room without using magic or a master key, kill Jessica and Kanon, and even erase Kanon's corpse without using magic. How could it be done? How could it be done so that you can deny me and not suspect anyone at the same time? Yeah, how, bitch? Resign. Huh? Battler-kun, what did you say? I give up. I was able to prove that Kanon-kun couldn't have locked this door. But that doesn't mean I was able to figure out who killed Jessica.
No, that's more than enough. For doing all that for Kanon-kun. Thank you very much.
I don't want thanks. After all, that means that you're under suspicion too. And sorry, Auntie Rosa, it's not like I wanted to be defiant towards you. I don't want to die either, and I want to find Dad and the rest's true killer. Sorry for saying something that wasn't cooperative. No, it's all right. It's the most Japanese sentence I've ever heard. Sorry for saying something that wasn't cooperative. I was also a little rash. Let's make up. As auntie and nephew, we have to be friendly with each other, right? Auntie Rosa shifted the gun to one hand and held out her other hand. I reached out, and for the time being, we shook hands. Auntie's gaze was sharp. In order to deny the witch, she would make anyone a sacrifice. That's what her eyes told me. And me? I denied the witch, but I wasn't prepared to lose anything. I was probably the one who thought himself most ready to fight, and the one standing furthest from the truth. I think that said the truth. I hit the button a little too fast. I was waiting for that fucking glass shattering for a while. I was like, I really gotta piss. I hope the glass shatters sooner. I had to piss twice before we even got there. Hello, Gretel, the witch of breadcrumbs. Hello, Miss White Kana. Hello, Psychic Sylph. I don't know if I said hello to any of you yet. Aggie Dine, if you're still there. I don't think I said hello to you either. Word up! Oh, god damn it. Go back. With Jessica's death, it became certain that the culprit was hiding nearby, and that they would come after our lives if they had a chance. According to Genji-san, when tomorrow morning comes, the boat should arrive. The boat has a radio, too. We'll probably be able to contact the police immediately with that. We all gathered in the parlor and decided to wait quietly until tomorrow. I proposed that we should search throughout the mansion for clues about the culprit, but Auntie Rosa rejected that, saying that if we put pressure on the culprit or provoked them, it might lead to a third murder. That was probably the right thing to do. Even if a bunch of amateurs like us investigated, there's no way we'd find anything. It would be wisest to focus on protecting ourselves without doing anything unnecessary and leave it to the police after tomorrow. We had been tense in the beginning, but other than Auntie Rosa, most of us had spent all morning watching TV and were getting bored, so our sense of danger had grown much less intense. When we thought about it, even though there certainly had been 6 adults killed at once in the first murder, that made us imagine that some backhanded method like poison had been used. And in the second murder, it was thought that those 2 had become sacrifices because they were unfortunately isolated from the rest of us. From this, we imagined that there weren't a great number of culprits, and they didn't have the ability to kill this large group gathered in the parlor all at once. Right now in this parlor, there was George Eineke and me, Maria, Auntie Rosa, Genji-san, Goda-san, Shannon-san, Kumasawa-san, and finally, Dr. Nanjo. A total of 9 people were here. Furthermore, Auntie Rosa was even armed with a gun. Surely, with this many people staying in this room, they wouldn't be able to touch us easily. That feeling of security, along with the passage of time, allowed us to recover from the shock of that morning bit by bit. Incidentally, lunchtime had just ended for us. However, it had been a canned food lunch, a far cry from last night's dinner which Goda-san had skillfully made for us. Auntie Rosa, too, had suspected that poison had been used in the murder of those 6 people, so we probably couldn't deny the possibility that the culprit had snuck into the kitchen during all that confusion in the morning and mixed poison in with the ingredients there. Auntie Rosa had ordered all of us not to put anything into our mouths except safe foods like canned food until the police came. As a cook, Goda-san must have felt very let down. As though he wanted to display his skill anyway, he said that he at least wanted to bring the plates and pile them up with canned food. At first, Auntie Rosa had been reluctant, examining each of the plates that were brought, but she hadn't been able to find anything to complain about, and Goda-san's chef's pick canned food combo lunch had become a reality. Goda-san had said something about taste being savored not just with the tongue, but with the eyes, too. I found myself agreeing. It had been the same canned food we ate for breakfast, but it felt like something completely different.
Battler! Look! Here, Wolves and Sheep puzzle!
As I was sitting lazily on a sofa with no desire to watch TV, Maria came over, pulled a picture book out of her handbag, and held it out to me as she said that. What is that book? Wolves and Sheep Puzzle. Let's have a look-see. Wolves and Sheep Puzzle. It was a phrase that Auntie Rosa had said this morning when we had gone to call on Jessica. At the time, I hadn't known what it meant, and then after that, there was the uproar when Jessica's body was found, so I'd forgotten about it completely. The book that Maria held out to me looked like a foreign picture book or something that had been translated. Opening it, I could tell that the book contained an assortment of puzzles.
Ooh. So there's several wolves and sheep, okay? And the puzzle is to take them to the other side using one boat.
I've heard of a game with rules like this. So this is that, but with wolves and sheep? It was a very simple puzzle passed on from long ago. Let's try one of the problems. On the right bank, there are 2 wolves and 2 sheep. There is a boat that as many as 2 animals can ride on, and using it, you have to move all 4 of them to the opposite left bank. There are 2 rules. The first is regarding the boat. It can be paddled by wolves or sheep and even just by 1 animal on its own, but it can only hold up 2. The second is regarding the wolves. When they are greater in number than the sheep in that location, they attack the sheep and it's game over. For example, at the start of the game, both sheep ride the boat and go to the other side. Then one sheep gets off and the other goes back to the first bank. When it does, there are 2 wolves on the first bank, and a single sheep returns there. When that happens, there are more wolves, so the sheep is attacked and it's game over. On either bank, or even the boat, there must not be more wolves than sheep. It's a puzzle about how to shuttle them across the boat under these conditions. By the way, the right answer is, on the first turn, move both wolves to the opposite bank. Then 1 wolf comes back. On the second turn, move 2 sheep to the opposite bank. Then 1 wolf comes back. Then on the third turn, put that last wolf that was on the right bank on the boat and cross to the opposite bank, and congratulations, transport successful. Part way, there may be the same number of wolves and sheep in the boat or on either side, but that isn't the problem. You only lose when the number of wolves is greater. This book symbolizes it using wolves and sheep, but there are probably lots of people who know this game with a different symbolism. It looked like Maria wanted to test whether I too could solve the puzzle she knew how to solve, and she kept showing me different pages saying,
Solve this one, and this one's hard.
What had been happening when Auntie Rosa had said the name of this puzzle? That's right. When we decided to go call Jessica, we had been talking about how many men should go, and Auntie Rosa mentioned the wolves and sheep puzzle and said that we should all go together. Wait a sec. That could only mean one thing. Auntie Rosa was saying that there are wolves among us. And when the number of wolves and sheep is balanced, we're safe, but when a situation comes up where that isn't the case, the wolves will bare their fangs. Is that what she's thinking? At the time we had found our parents' corpses, Auntie Rosa was already suspecting that the servants might be wolves. While she didn't know whether it was all of them or just some, she had sniffed out the possibility that wolves were hiding among them. Well, yeah, that murder scene was pretty damn elaborate. It's easy to imagine that there were multiple culprits, and considering that she had the idea in mind when she went to Jessica's room, where Jessica had been alone with the servant, Kanon, and had been killed, it isn't hard to imagine why Auntie Rosa had suspected the servant so persistently.
All you servants, Goda-san is going to the kitchen to wash the dishes. Just in case, would you all please go with him?
My apologies, everyone. Let us go as a group. Shannon, Kumasawa. Let's go.
Yes, coming. Oh. Well then, George-san, excuse me for now.
Okay, they're like all gonna die, aren't they? At once. Take care. No, that's not how this works. Auntie Rosa, could I go as well? I'm sorry, would you remain here, George-kun? There's something I want to talk to you about. Is that so? Sorry, Shannon. Anyway, take care. Don't be alone.
Yes. Excuse me, Dr. Nanjo. I wanted to consult with you about something.
Yes, what might that be? The servants put the dishes and empty cans on the serving cart and started to head out into the corridor. Behind them, Auntie Rosa was talking to Dr. Nanjo about something in a small voice. All right, I will go.
Yes, if you wouldn't mind.
Dr. Nanjo closed the book he had been reading, stood from the sofa, and followed after the servants. Auntie Rosa stuck her head out into the hallway, and after watching them leave completely, she closed the door and spoke.
Listen, everyone. Now everyone here is an Ushiromiya.
Yes, that is true. So you're saying that you've chased out all of the wolves, Auntie Rosa? With that one sentence, Auntie Rosa's gaze grew sharp. Apparently, she had picked up on my sardonic tone. Auntie Rosa laughed lightly. Your mind sure works fast, Battler-kun. I like clever kids. It means there's less to explain. Unlike you!
Ooh! Battler's smart? I don't know about that. Can you solve this? Hard one on page 64. Ooh.
Maria, sit there watching TV for a while. Mama wants to talk with Battler-kun and George-kun.
Ooh.
Auntie Rosa, I heard about the puzzle from Battler-kun. I don't think it's bad to be very careful, but I think being too suspicious isn't good either. Whether the real culprit is Beatrice or not, I think there is reason for us to suspect that the servants are in league with her. In the first murder, where Nissan and the others were killed, they'd been given a very brutal treatment, right? Did that look like something that could be done alone? Maybe our mystery guest Beatrice-sama worked all night and did it all. And the incident with the master keys involving the door to Jessica's room, isn't that proof that one of the servants was involved? Only a master key could have locked the door to Jessica's room. In that case, we can only suppose that one of the servants locked it. Yeah, we've been over this like literally 100 times. No, wait. Run that back. Flip over the chessboard. That's strange, Auntie Rosa. After killing Jessica, why did the culprit go to all the trouble of locking the door? It was inevitable that the owners of the master keys were going to be suspected if they did that. There was no reason to deliberately lock the door. Super chat from Amy with 5R. Uh-oh, the Brazilian is derailing the conversation into being about Utena. Check Twitch chat. Also, I've heard Amy Worrell is a better writer than Trixie. O-R-L-Y. Alright, let me read this stuff you wrote about Utena here. I read the conclusion of Utena differently than you did, Trixie. Throughout the show, every character is playing a role, and the role of the knight they choose for themselves necessitate a bride. That is what binds Anthe, and that is what makes the loop unbreakable. Utena is the only one who manages to save Anchi because she manages to step away from that role, thus releasing both of them. Utena's self-sacrifice is as powerful as Akio's control and unexpectedly just as egocentric. I don't think the witch or princess has to save herself. I think the witch is what lies behind the mask, and that person can only exist when the princess, the mask, is brought down. And in the case of Utena, the show, that can only be achieved through a two-way effort. That is also why Utena fades. Her entirety existence was the role of the knight, while Anthe was both the witch and the princess. The latter can exist as one, but the former can't, and the story is telling you to not play a role because it is, by design, performative and therefore empty. If you do end up in a role, a connection such as the two of them share might be necessary to strip off the mask. So, if anything, I think the story is saying that revolution cannot be achieved alone. I definitely think it's saying that. As for the particulars of what you're saying, I need to rewatch the last part of Utena before I could really say for sure. Because I just think... Yeah, I don't know. What you're saying definitely sounds true about adolescence of Utena especially. And I think that one is kind of just an attempt to express what the show was trying to say, but more clearly. But I don't know. You're probably right. We'll find out. I'll see if I agree with you after I've watched the show again. Because I don't really remember what happens in the last couple episodes that well. It's been a long time since I've actually seen the ending of Utena, since we were rewatching it for Rewatch Anime. Utena then assumes the role of Car. Yes, exactly. All I ever wanted was a black Grand National. Fuck being rational. Give them what they asked for. Now that I think about it, Amy and Ellen, y'all don't watch a lot of my music content, so you might not be aware of the fact that Kendrick Lamar literally turned into Utena. Like he turned into a car. He literally did an end of Utena and carnated himself, as he described it. Carnated. He was carnated. And he turned into a GN Black Grand National. Anyway, back to the game. After killing Jessica, why did the culprit go to all the trouble of locking the door? Oh, right, I already read this part. There was no need to deliberately lock the door. Kendrick Lamar signifies freedom? Yes, pretty much. The GNX symbolizes his achievement of as much freedom as he's ever aspired towards, is basically how I would put it. Like, he has reached the level of freedom he was looking for in life and is now trying to bring it to other people. And he expresses that by way of the GNX. Car. Perhaps there should be a stream where everyone explains Utada. That is a good idea, actually. Like, we all just sit there like, no, actually, like, just try to hash it out. We could probably make that happen. That's right. It's just as Battler-kun says. They have no reason to deliberately go and do something that makes themselves suspicious. Yes, that's an interesting thought. Of course, I also thought that. Oh, of course you did. You're so smart. If that's so, then the person who locked it wanted to cast suspicion on the servants and locked that door without a master key. But that's impossible, right? That's right. If there was a trick that could lock the door without a master key, then this would be a good disguise aimed at casting doubt on the servants. If the culprit wanted to isolate us and attack us one by one, this trick was a very effective one that could even give rise to paranoia. However, there was no way to lock that door without using a master key. How can you make the claim that there's no way to lock the door without using a master key? Well, you see, I'm kind of in like an aspatial dimension talking to a witch that's trying to convince me that that's not happening. So, or no, that I'm trying to convince isn't. Is he trying to convince her that he is not in an aspatial, like, alternate universe? Like, what does he think is happening? How does he think she's showing him all of this? I assume that conversation has to come up at some point, right? At some point, she's got to be like, okay, well, like, regardless of all the details of this story, what about all this that's happening outside of this story? Anyway. Isn't that a devil's proof, like Rudolph Nissan was talking about? Maybe it was locked by a method we can't think of. Even if we can't think of it, that doesn't disprove that there was some unknown trick. Well, sure, but so is that it? The suspicious ones are guilty? I don't know the practical details of the trick, but I have a general idea. My apologies, but what do you mean by that? But if we suppose that Kanon-kun was the culprit, it can be explained extremely easily. Even as to why there was no corpse. Huh? But Kanon-kun wasn't holding a master key, right? Putting aside the other servants, at least Kanon-kun shouldn't have been able to lock the door. I see. So that's why you told us to search in the closet and everywhere else right after we entered Jessica's room. Honey Rose, your mind works faster than I could imagine, judging by your normal appearance. The brain speed of a little sister is always the big sister's -1. What? I know that she's insecure, but that is such a bizarre way to frame her insecurity. That's hilarious. I feel glad that there's no one I need to worry about now. Jesus. George Eineke realized that she was referring to Auntie Ava and seemed a little disturbed about how he should take that nasty remark. Yeah, as well you should be. Damn. I'm sorry. Could you explain it so that even I can understand? Kanon-kun's master key was in Jessica-chan's pocket, closed up inside a locked room. After the door was locked, it should have been impossible for him to pull a stunt like putting it in her pocket from outside the room. Good point. That's not it, Aniki. If it was done in the way Auntie Rosa imagines, this trick could only be used by Kanon-kun, and the door could be locked without a key while the master key was still in Jessica's pocket, and as a result his corpse would also disappear. But how? How would he lock the door without a key? Yes, please, just fucking explain it. It's simple. George-kun, when you return home, you lock the door, right? Twist the knob, click, right? Huh? Could it be? No, but Kanon-kun wasn't anywhere. It looks like you've got it, Aniki. That's what Auntie Rosa was searching inside the room for. She was searching for Kanon-kun, who had locked the door from the inside, stuck the key in Jessica's pocket, and was hiding somewhere waiting for us to go away. The simplest locked room trick. In other words, to hide inside the locked room after committing the murder. And if he could get out of there if he could get out after... Yeah, you get it. We searched that room, but we couldn't find anything. But that doesn't mean we can rule out something like a secret hidden passage in that room that only the servants know about. Well, again, Beatrice told us that's not the case. So. I don't know where that might be hidden, but if we assume that there was a hidden passage, we can say for certain that it was impossible for anyone except him. I have to say, this might be the most redundant, segment of this story that I've read so far. My God, they have reiterated these couple of points into the dirt. You know, that line of reasoning, it was the first thing I thought of too. It's the reasoning I hate the most, so I wanted to destroy it in the very beginning. Kanon was killed in this room, yes? Because you seem to suspect Kanon as the culprit, you made me repeat this to destroy that possibility right away. I understand. So this is what I thought of next. A theory that there were actually 3 people in that room. Jessica and Kanon-kun were victims, and the culprit, the guest Beatrice, was also there with them. He wanted to make it the human me who committed the crime without using magic. I see, a strange theory that fits you perfectly. I guess that you killed those 2, then locked the door from the inside. And you carried Kanon-kun's corpse using some secret method that normal people wouldn't notice. In other words, you used a secret door to escape. But you told me it in red. You said that there are no types of hidden doors in that room. Indeed, no secret passage exists unknown to you all. Was it Knox or was it Van Dyne? It seems that in mystery novels there must never be hidden passages no matter what. I also follow that etiquette. In other words, even without having to thoroughly search a room, great detectives can state with confidence that there are no secret passages. Humans have it so easy with their little detective games. That's actually a really interesting thought. I'm thinking, great detectives, that's not so, I don't know. Detectives are real, but the idea of a super detective is fake. So she's basically insisting that because we all know that the tropes of good detective novels mean that there can't be an escape door, and therefore, if there is a great detective in a story, they will never assume that there's an escape door because that would make it no longer a great detective story. The level of meta she's talking here is her, very her. Knox and Van Dyne. I don't even know who those people are. Damn you, talking so big. Thanks. Thanks to the witch's arrangement, I can say for sure that the room doesn't have a hidden door without searching the whole thing. Indeed. Now how do you tell this crazy bitch about it? There are no hidden doors in this room. There is no way to get in or out other than the door and the windows. Which means that theory Auntie Rosa's so confident in is wrong. Plus, frustratingly, it's impossible to disprove that theory. If you, the witch, say in red there are no hidden doors, then it's settled. However, no matter how much a human like me tries to argue against her, Auntie Rosa probably won't accept it. Humans can't prove there's no hidden door. It's a devil's proof. And sure is convenient being a witch, which I don't believe in, by the way. No way. You're calling Kanon-kun the culprit because of a hidden door that we don't even know exists? I can't accept that. If you can't accept that, tell me some reasoning that's easier to accept then. There is none. I've been thinking the whole time. I've been thinking this whole time! There's nothing but this. George-kun, you had a good relationship with Shannon-chan, right? So I think it would be hard for you to accept that all of the servants are the culprits. I also don't want to believe that Shannon-chan is one of the culprits. But whether it's all of them or not, the culprit or maybe an accomplice is definitely in that group. You must not fail to see that. If you thought that there were more wolves in addition to Kanon-kun, then causing that uproar by saying that Kanon-kun was the culprit in Jessica's room was to see the servants' reactions? Yes, that's right. And as a result, I began to suspect them even more. I'm certain there are wolves among the servants. Certain. And just like the wolves in sheep puzzle, while they are normally docile, they will surely attack if they get the chance. Jessica-chan was a lone sheep on the boat. In that puzzle, they may not attack when there is a balance between wolves and sheep, but our puzzle is different. Depending on the opportunity and the number of people, they'll attack even if there is a balance. Just like when Jessica-chan was killed. When you have to break your own metaphor, your logic is no longer even slightly sound. There's something I don't like. In that case, Shannon, who you sent to the kitchen, is in a dangerous situation, isn't she? We should also go to the kitchen right now. No matter who might or might not be a wolf. If we can form a balance by gathering together, I think we should maintain that. Shannon-chan went to see father along with Genji-san. She was isolated then, but she wasn't killed. Because Genji-san wasn't a wolf either? No, because they were both wolves. Shannon isn't the kind of person who would take a part in a crime. Even if it's you, Auntie Rosa, I cannot ignore that. I demand that you take back what you just said. I hate to say this in front of Aniki, but that argument feels just like something Auntie Ava would say. If we can't argue back, then you automatically assume that you're right. Looks like you can't fight your blood after all, Auntie. Even I don't think of myself as very praiseworthy right now. But you know what? I'm a mother. I would even become a demon to protect Maria's safety. And believe me, I have. Honestly speaking, I wish I could just shut myself away somewhere alone with Maria. But I also plan to act as a mother to you two. Right now, you are as good as my children. And we're gonna get our asses kicked? You may not be my own children, but I won't forsake you. Ever. Sure, thanks. I just wanted to warn you not to be careless as your mother. Always remain where I can see you. I will protect you. And at the same time, you'll be observing us to make sure we aren't wolves. Yeah, thanks a lot for that. Can you prove that you aren't a wolf yourself? Yes, I can. That's a quick answer. How? With this. This is my proof. Yep. Auntie Rosa held up the gun and pointed the barrel at me. I can't help but notice her trigger discipline, in addition to her barrel discipline, is astonishingly shit. But that was only for an instant. She immediately lowered the gun, laughing impishly. But to me, the time I spent staring down the barrel of a gun had felt like an eternity. Yeah, I fucking bet. How does that gun prove that you aren't the culprit, Auntie Rosa? Think about it. What if I were the culprit? Do you think I would let by this once-in-a-lifetime chance I got when the servants left? I could just shoot you both, bang, and that's all that's left is to come out with a fitting excuse. Something like, Beatrice appeared outside the window and shot at us with a gun. I would claim that I fired 2 shots back at her and throw the 2 shots worth of empty cartridges onto the floor. With your hand? That's a crazy wild argument, but it does make sense. There's something Kraus Nissan often used to say. I don't know why I used that voice. Might makes right. I wonder if this proves that. I'm sorry, you two. I've lost a lot of my composure after all these crimes since morning. You know how I normally am. But understand, I want to protect you from the malicious culprit. I will become a demon to do that. You're already the demon. That's all there is to it. I'm sorry for saying something that's angered you. Battler-kun, George-kun, let's make up. George Aniki was wearing an unsatisfied expression. He probably couldn't forgive the damage done to Shannon's honor. What about me? Several bits of circumstantial evidence hint strongly at the servant's participation. I don't want to believe that one of them is the culprit or possibly colluding with the culprit, but in the current situation, that's nothing but wishful thinking. Who should I believe? In the first place, who is the culprit? Are there accomplices? If so, how many? I feel like I'm constantly only suspecting the people connected to all this. I find myself quickly forgetting about that 19th person, the guest, Beatrice, who came yesterday and boldly called herself the Golden Witch. I haven't actually seen her face. I've heard that she's like a double of the witch in that portrait. But because I haven't seen her directly, no matter how hard I try, I can't really feel like there are 19 people on the island. So I easily slip into the illusion that the culprit is one of the 18. Damn it. Come out, Beatrice. If you're the bad guy, then act like the bad guy and show yourself, laughing in a high-pitched voice and looking down on us. Just like a bad guy in one of those dramas who, even once they're exposed as the culprit, aggressively says, "Is there any proof?" Is there any proof? Shut up. You keep your trap shut for a minute. What do you think, Ellen? Should we call it here? Is it getting too late? Or should we go a little farther? Yeah, Gary, exactly. She died to protect her child, slaps her in the face relentlessly, and her proof that she's right is, I have a gun, motherfucker. Does Rosa represent America? She definitely represents Karens. Like, she is the apex Karen of all visual novel media. There were 5 humans in the kitchen, but it was very quiet, filled only with the sound of the rain. Oh yeah, I forgot about the demon summoning that happened in this chapter. We've got nothing more about that, have we? I thought a lot more stuff that weird was going to happen based on that. It was only accented by the sound of Shannon and Kumasawa washing the dishes. Goda was using the leftovers from breakfast and lunch as ingredients for a servant's soup. Rosa had suspected that poison might have been added to the food, so they had decided to eat canned food, but it hadn't really been filling. But Goda thought that she was being too careful, so he was spontaneously creating a soup to be served only to those that wanted to eat it. Shannon and Kumasawa were washing the dishes that the food had been arranged on. On the inside, they thought maybe Goda should be the one to wash them, since he had been the one who wanted the food on plates in the first place, but they left their complaints unsaid for the time being. Genji and Nanjo were facing each other across a crude chess set which had seen many years. Doesn't have eyes. It had still only just begun, and because the opening game of the experienced players had been endlessly refined, it looked like a ritual where they just moved specified pieces in a specified order. That's a nice aroma. You wouldn't get this from canned food. It was made only from sealed ingredients, so there won't be any poison mixed in. I have made enough for everybody, so please eat. Of course, I will also taste for poison. Please feel secure and eat.
That really is a nice aroma. Goda-san, your makeshift servant meals are really delicious.
It's natural that you can create delicious food if you buy delicious ingredients. My teacher taught me that perfecting your ability to make delicious food from whatever is at hand is what makes you a true cook. That was a good teacher. Thanks to him, it looks like I shall be able to enjoy some truly delicious soup. Although it is a shame that it was made from ingredients intended for all of the family members to eat. I'm sure that Rosa-san is also tired after everything that happened this morning. It is only natural. But thanks to that, we get to eat some soup made from delicious ingredients. Oh! Rosa had fervently told everyone that they didn't realize the danger they were in and that they must suspect that poison was mixed in with the food. The atmosphere in that place had led to their agreement, but their hunger wouldn't be overcome by that momentary emotion.
Ironically, it has become a soup that we normally wouldn't be able to savor. Possibly, I would like to also serve it to everyone in the parlor, but seeing as that goes against Rosa-sama's instructions, you'd better not. Those who want to eat it can do so.
Oh, skillfully taking a breather when no one is looking is one of the things you learn as a servant, after all.
Kumasawa laughed loudly, and Shannon and Goda laughed with her. It seemed that in an area where only their fellow servants were gathered, they could be very relaxed. Shannon didn't like Goda's occasional dishonesty, but she knew that there was no falsehood in his childish smile when he cooked, nor in his desire that people enjoy his food. So even though it was a little aggravating to be made to wash the dishes, she couldn't really hate him. However, they couldn't have dreamed that Rosa was calling them wolves in the parlor at exactly the same moment that they were spending their time peacefully like this. At that time, several of the servants heard a sound like something was being dragged, and then a thump. When a servant was out carrying a mountain of trash bags on a rainy day or doing some work in a raincoat, they would create exactly this kind of noise and presence as they returned and hovered around the back door. So after hearing that sound, at first none of them noticed anything out of the ordinary, but they quickly realized, in a situation where everyone was either in the kitchen or the parlor, who in the world was at the back door? As the servants all looked at each other, they checked to make sure that each one of them knew what that sound meant. Who could it be? The servants knew the mansion's layout well, so they understood how unimaginable it would be for someone from the parlor to actually go outside in this typhoon, all the way around and come up to this back door. Then, was it Kinzo? They found it even more difficult to imagine that Kinzo, who never left his study even under normal conditions, would dash out into the middle of this typhoon for no apparent reason and come to the back of the house where only low-class people come in or out.
That wasn't our imagination, was it?
Shannon and Kumasawa drew closer together, fearfully looking at the back door. Who is it? As Goda fearfully approached the back door, he called out, and he checked with his eyes the location of a butcher's knife set on a nearby sink. He didn't pick it up yet, because there was still a possibility that this was a member of the family. However, that possibility wasn't possible. There was no response from across the door to Goda's initial question. However, that possibility wasn't possible should be like the summary of this whole game. Maybe his voice had been so quiet that it hadn't reached through all the wind and rain outside. Genji-san.
Yes. Stand back, Dr. Nanjo and the women.
Who in the world could it be? Genji took a knife with a classical design from a stationery box placed near the chest set. It was something to be used instead of a paper knife to open envelopes for invoices and bills, but it was fundamentally a knife, so the blade on it could injure someone. Genji hid it in his sleeve with a well-practiced manner. Then he too approached the back door and signaled to Goda with a silent nod. Goda cautiously approached the back door and slowly started to open it. He gonna knife him? The figure of a person suddenly shuffled into sight, landed on its knees, and fell over. Goda fell backwards onto his backside in shock. It's gonna be dead Kinzo. That figure was soaked with rain, smeared with mud, and drenched with blood. Kanon-kun! Oh my god, Kanon-kun's a zombie. Kanon-kun! I knew there was a reason he wasn't listed as dead yet. Kanon, are you alright? Dr. Nanjo. Yeah, how could she have disappeared his body? There's no such thing as magic. There is no corpse, but he is dead. That's what this says. So even without a corpse, his death is incontrovertible. Well, I don't know about that. It was Kanon. His breath was feeble, and the puddles of mud he left quickly became drenched bright red. When Nanjo held him and turned him face up, there was a deep, gruesome scar right in the middle of his chest, as though he had been run through with a spear or something. Even now, deep red blood poured out from there. This is horrible. What shall we do? First aid kit? First aid kit?
Kanon-san, put your hand against the wound.
Please, push firmly. Let's carry him to the bed in the servant room. Everyone, please lend a hand.
Come now, Kanon-san. Please, hang in there a little longer.
Hang in there. It's all right now. So don't take your hand from the wound.
Anyway, let's carry him to the servant room. Kumasawa, inform Rosa-sama that we have found Kanon.
Wait. Not Rosa-sama.
Yeah, fuck that bitch.
Please wait. Kanon-san said not Rosa-sama.
What do you mean, Kanon-kun?
Not now. Let's carry him to the servant room quickly. Kumasawa, don't tell Rosa-sama yet. We'll do it after we hear the situation from Kanon.
Yes.
After appearing in this horrible state, he had said not to tell Rosa. That could only mean something very disquieting. An eerie sense of panic rose to their faces. Come now, everyone. Let's hurry and carry him. Quickly, quickly. This music is tight. Kanon's wound was unbelievably deep, and judging from Nanjo's pale face, it was almost a miracle that he was still conscious. This is horrible. It appears that he has been stabbed with something like a spear. If it hasn't reached the lungs, I might be able to do something. Anyway, stop the bleeding. No matter how much Nanjo tried to wipe off that gushing deep red blood, he couldn't wipe it. He couldn't wipe it. He couldn't wipe it all away. And each time the wound was aggravated, causing Kanon to cry in anguish.
Kanon-kun. 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 Hang in there. Hang in there.
Dr. Nanjo, a new towel. How horrible. What is his condition? In all honesty, it is so severe that I cannot believe he is alive. Maybe the location of the stab was fortunate, but the blood loss is too horrible. A blood transfusion is necessary, but that's impossible until tomorrow.
Rosa-sama. She...
Don't talk, Kanon-kun. Your wound will open.
Rosa-sama came in my butt to Milady and me and...
What did you say?
Rosa-sama did? Oh, could that mean?
Are you certain?
Yes, I'm certain it was Rosa-sama.
Come now, don't speak anymore. Kumasawa-san, please grab another first aid kit. Stupefaction. Genji-san, is it possible Rosa-sama did such a thing? I don't know. Disregarding Nanjo and Kumasawa, who were struggling hard and stained with blood as they tried to stop the bleeding, Genji and Goda faced each other, because if what Kanon had said was the truth, Rosa was the culprit who killed Jessica. Curse you, Rosa! How could you do that to Milady? I'm gonna kill you! Kanon screamed even more hatefully. His hate-filled voice made it seem like he had seen Jessica being harmed right before his eyes. Certainly, Rosa may have had a reason to kill Milady. If the Ushiromiya family was wiped out, the inheritance would all go to Rosa-sama. If so, Battler-sama and George-sama are in danger. Not only is Rosa-sama holding a gun, but right now they are the only ones in the parlor. Genji-san, isn't this quite perilous? Shannon suddenly ran out of the corridor. Her expression was complex and tragic, as though she didn't know what to believe. Describing an expression as complex and tragic is really funny. I have no idea what that would look like specifically. Shannon ran. To where? The inside of the mansion had been scrupulously cleaned, so they probably wouldn't be easy to find. She might find some if she searched the rose garden, but they would probably have all been lost in this wind and rain. That's right. The boiler room isn't cleaned very often. If she went there, she might be able to find some... Shannon ran down the stairs to search for those in the underground boiler room. What are those?
Had some medicine taken effect at the brink of death, or had Kanon finally stopped even feeling pain? For the first time, Kanon had at least gotten over his painful gasping. Nanjo apparently didn't think of this as that great of a trend and didn't let his eyes off Kanon for a second. Kumasawa firmly gripped Kanon's hand and kept encouraging him so that his will to stay alive didn't fall asleep. Genji and Goda seemed bewildered at how to deal with the truth that Kanon had risked his life to deliver. I believe Rosa-sama's gun had 4 or 5 shots loaded. That's no small number. But loading cartridges into that gun should require quite a lot of practice. We might unfortunately allow her to get one shot off, but if everyone attacks her at once, we should be able to take the gun from her before she shoots again. On this island, we may have a doctor, but there's no medicine and no hospital. If you're shot in the wrong place, you're dead. I understand that, but more importantly, if we don't move quickly, there is also the possibility that another crime will occur. I get the feeling that Rosa-sama skillfully chased us out. There's a possibility that George-sama and Battler-sama are being killed right about now. Oh, if the opponent is so dangerous, wouldn't it be better if we didn't provoke them too much? But there is still much time before tomorrow comes. We can't even imagine what strategy she will use. Genji-san, we should be the ones to make the first move. If we can at least take the gun from her under some pretext, things might work out. There are 4 or 5 cartridges, are there not? That means there aren't enough to kill all of us. If we don't carelessly provoke her, surely even Rosa-sama wouldn't recklessly... No. She said it. She said she'll massacre all of us. Kanon, who they thought had been sleeping quietly, suddenly started talking brightly. Almost like he had been awake the whole time and had suddenly opened his mouth. He looked firm and steady, and Nanjo was slightly relieved, but thinking of the deepness of that wound, he just couldn't wipe away a certain creepy feeling. He knew, because he was a doctor. Kanon should have been expected to fall unconscious after losing so much blood, and yet somehow he had preserved his awareness so clearly. Youth? Or tenacity? Sometimes the power of human life did surpass common knowledge. When they had stopped the bleeding to make sure there were no foreign objects inside the affected area, Nanjo had groped around a bit inside the bleeding hole with tweezers, and the great depth of the wound had surprised him. The wound had certainly reached as far as his lungs. And yet, no, on the other hand, the fact that he is alive is fortunate. But Kanon had spoken clearly. He had hatefully said that the one named Rosa had created this wound and was repeating curses and enraged words. Fuck that bitch. She wants to kill everyone by any means necessary before the typhoon passes, so that she can have the master's wealth all to herself. She told me that clearly. Damn it. What a person. Genji-san, what should we do? Do we also not need some kind of weapons? I can't believe it so suddenly. That Rosa-sama would do something like... Genji-sama, it isn't a question of whether you believe or not. She told me. Heard it. Why won't you believe me? Don't get up. You'll worsen your wound. Kanon sat up on the bed and spoke to Genji, who was making no effort to believe Kanon's story. She will definitely kill all of us. She's surely killed all of the people in the parlor by now. If we don't kill her first, it will absolutely be us who are killed first. Just like how I was killed first, everyone else will also be killed first. Kill her, be killed. Kill her, be killed. Kill her, be killed. Kanon-san, you... Does it really not hurt? Oh, this? It isn't a serious wound. What do you mean, not a serious wound? It really isn't a big deal. It doesn't hurt at all anymore. It really isn't a serious wound. As Kanon said that, he began to untie his own bandages, which had been painstakingly wrapped. The gruesome hole in his chest was immediately exposed. Kanon-san, you mustn't do something like that. Quickly, lie down. I said it's fine. Look, see? It's not a serious wound, right? Kanon showed off his gaping wound, which was still slowly spitting out foamy blood. Everyone averted their eyes reflexively. See?
I told you that it wasn't a serious wound at all.
Stop that. You mustn't play with your wound.
Look, see? It isn't a deep wound at all. Look. Look. Kanon held up 2 fingers, showed them to everyone, and slowly started to stick them into the gruesome wound right in the center of his chest. Plunging, slimy, squishy, wet. The fingers went in deep, to the base. Squitch, glop, blorp. Kanon, stop it! Having stuck his fingers completely into his chest, up to their base, he slowly pulled them out in exactly the same way. Go back in and out and in and out. The fingers he pulled out were stained a sticky, solid, deep red color, and there was even a thread hanging. The fingers were, all the way to their base, covered in deep red. You... What in the world? See? It is not a serious wound at all, you see? Just then the door opened vigorously and Shannon appeared. Even after she saw Kanon stained with fresh blood, her impregnable expression didn't falter. Hey, Nason, where'd you go? I'm on the verge of death here. Where'd you go? Well, I went to the boiler room, looking for something. More importantly, I want to check. Are you really Kanon-kun? Huh? It was only natural. Everyone believed he was Kanon, so they couldn't understand the meaning of Shannon's question. When they looked, they noticed that Shannon was holding a handkerchief in her hand. It was filthy and looked like she had wiped up some trash or dust, and while holding that, she approached Kanon and drew close to his legs. What is that? It's a handkerchief with a spider's web wiped on it. Why something like that? If you're Kanon-kun, you should be alright. But if spiders are your natural enemy, I thought you might hate it. Oh no. Why would I hate spiders? Sorry, I'll try it. Shut up, son. Anime. When Shannon brought that handkerchief close to Kanon's thigh, something happened in an instant. It happened all at once. The human eye couldn't have followed it. Kanon jumped back like a wild goat, fleeing from the thing Shannon was doing, and his arm drew trails with some kind of afterglow that flashed purple. There were 3 beautiful purple trails drawn in an arc, and they were traced across the throats of Nanjo and Kumasawa, who had been tending to him. And Nanjo and Kumasawa's throats had opened like gaping mouths, and it was the very instant before the blood was about to start spewing out. The 3rd purple trail should have traced across Shannon's throat, but Shannon wasn't there, because Genji, who had been behind her, had wrapped his own arm around Shannon's neck and pulled her back. Then it all happened in an instant. In the instant Goda tried to think fast in an attempt to understand this scene, the moment frozen in time shattered. Blood spewed forcefully from Nanjo and Kumasawa's necks, which had been torn open. Still mid-jump, Kanon wall-kicked off a picture frame. Fucking wall-kicked. That had been hanging from the wall behind him, springing forward like a cat and aiming for Shannon's throat again. But Kanon's target once again disappeared from in front of him, because Genji had pulled Shannon again, and the 2 of them had fallen onto the ground, keeping flat to the floor. Nice reflexes, you senile old piece of furniture.
Goda.
Goda wasn't an idiot either. Even if he couldn't fully understand what was going on, he at least realized that if this Kanon wasn't seized, his own life would also be in peril. He sprung at Kanon with his huge body, pushing him up against the wall with his weight and physical strength. Ooh. Let me go, you fat ass! The tips of the fingers on Kanon's right hand began to trace out another purple trail. And when he raised that blade hand up, aiming to strike at Goda's back, there was a loud thunk, because Kanon's raised blade hand had been pinned to the wall. He couldn't tear his palm away from the wall. Sticking out from it was the knife Genji had thrown. Under normal circumstances, it should have been surprising to see someone as old as Genji handle a knife so skillfully, but in this abnormal space, no one paid it much mind. Genji-sama here.
Yes. Genji took the handkerchief with the spider web stuck to it from Shannon, and as he approached Kanon, who was pinned to the wall by Gota's massive body and the knife.
Stop it! Don't come near me with that! Stop it! Stop! Yeah!
You melt that bitch like the fucking Wicked Witch of the West? When Genji pushed the handkerchief up against Kanon's face, there was a sound just like the one you hear when you set meat on a red-hot iron plate. Of course, the smell was the same too. As he was burned and inflamed, festering in filthy red and black, and cried out in his death throes, Kanon's body burst open and scattered. It was almost as though a balloon filled with gold leaf had popped. The entire servant room was completely buried under a storm of gold leaf. No, a rabble of gold butterflies. So the spider is the natural enemy of the butterfly. So that means that Beatrice, whoever Beatrice is truly afraid of, is a spider person. Right? Probably. Those butterflies began to softly fade into nothingness, as though dissolving into water. No, into thin air itself. And afterwards, all that was left was the three of them sitting on their behinds, stained with blood. However, not everyone was just stained with blood. Some of them were lying on the ground, vomiting blood themselves.
Kumasawa. Dr. Nanjo.
A slit so sharp that it looked like it could cut your finger if you touched it was opened wide, causing large amounts of blood to keep pouring out. I think they're dead, buddy. What was that just now?
Goda, have you been injured?
I am alright. But what did we see? What happened? Even though I definitely pushed that thing against the wall with this very hand, I cannot understand what happened. Goda looked at his own hand. The bright red blood left from his scuffle with Kanon definitely remained, and yet Kanon was nowhere to be seen, because he had disappeared. He had turned into gold butterflies and scattered. Goda kept screaming alone that he had no clue about what was going on. Shannon sobbed in front of Nanjo's and Kumasawa's remains, and Genji watched over her, silent as always. Uh-oh. Alright, gang. This is where we're calling it. I'm too tired to do another, and that was also pretty exciting and cool. And a great mystery to leave us on. What the fuck was that about? That scene was sick. The part where they were burning off his face was particularly cool. They're like, smells like meat. I like that. Oh, okay. So, we'll probably play this more than once a week. And possibly for longer. Like, we started kind of late this time. So, you know, I wanted to keep it a little shorter, but we might start earlier and have longer sessions and do this more than once a week. Because again, I don't have a particular pressure to, you know, I don't have to compete with time, basically, with a bunch of other stuff. Other than other stuff I want to do, not with stuff that there's nothing that is someone else preventing me from being able to play Umineko. It would only be, you know, the necessity of me doing other things for myself. But, yeah, I love this game. Even though this was probably the most frustratingly repetitive segment of it so far, it picked up at the end there. Okay, let's make sure we save and all that, right? Yeah. Dope. This song's kind of a jam too, but enough of that. Alright, thanks for coming out, everybody. Good night. I will probably stream tomorrow, but it'll be something totally different. And we'll find out what that is when the time comes. Alright, peace out.